Here are the top stories for today, January 4, 2022. The Health Department says there is no truth to the alleged paracetamol shortage in the country. More government agencies are amenable to the no vax, no labas policy. Another overseas Filipino is nabbed over breach in quarantine protocol. And Olympic pole vaulter Ernest John E.J. Obiena is set to face charges for alleged misuse of funds. Good day, I'm Bench Bondok. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story tonight, Bulacan, Cavite, and Rizal will be under Alert Level 3 starting tomorrow, January 5 until January 15. The shift to a stricter Alert Level 3 was approved by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases due to a sharp increase in COVID-19 cases in the three provinces. In an interview, DOH Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega said the Philippines has been experiencing a steady increase in terms of the Omicron, just like what happened across South Africa and Europe. Metro Manila was earlier placed under Alert Level 3 after a spike in the number of COVID-19 cases and a high possibility of local transmission of the Omicron variant. More government agencies are supportive of the policy restricting the movement of unvaccinated individuals. In a Laging Handa briefing, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Secretary Joey Concepcion, said he is in favor of the no vax, no labas policy as they want to allow more mobility for the vaccinated individuals. He said he's even in favor of implementing it nationwide. Concepcion also said employers will now start implementing the regular RT-PCR test for unvaccinated employees.
Ngayon, we will implement the on-site workers now. For those who are not vaccinated, we will mandate PCR tests. So that's 70,000 per employee. They don't get vaccinated. We held that off because it was Christmas. But this month, we will start implementing that. Katulad ngayon sa kay sila Benher Avalos, they will now restrict the movement of the unvaccinated. And I believe this is the way that we should move all over the country. Yung bakunado, it's not that we are depriving them of their rights to movement. It's we are protecting them from getting infected because hindi sila bakunado. At klaro-klaro, ang napupuno sa mga hospital ay mga hindi vaccinated.
Meanwhile, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said the policy is proper and reasonable as 80% of those in the intensive care unit are unvaccinated. He said vaccination, coupled with strict adherence to minimum public health standards, will allow authorities to control the surge of the Delta and probably the Omicron variants. Año also directed the Philippine National Police to assist local government units in Metro Manila in implementing the 30% indoor capacity and 50% outdoor capacity in some establishments under Alert Level 3. For Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez, the policy could encourage people to get their COVID-19 jabs as Metro Manila has an adequate supply of vaccines. And for Presidential Advisor for COVID-19 Response, Vince Dizon, the restrictions are important because the Omicron variant and other strains of COVID-19 target those who are not yet vaccinated against the disease. Make RT-PCR test kits for COVID-19 more affordable for all. This is the call of Acting Presidential Spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles amid concerns that some laboratories and hospitals are turning RT-PCR testing into a private business. Nograles said the national government may reassess the price range for RT-PCR test kits, which are currently priced at 3,800 pesos for public laboratories and hospitals and 4,500 to 5,000 pesos for private laboratories. Nograles said PhilHealth is currently providing benefit package rates for RT-PCR testing. He also assures that the national government will procure new COVID-19 test kits that provide results in a matter of hours as soon as they become available in the market. Formal and informal sector workers will be affected by the implementation of the Alert Level 3 classification in Metro Manila will be given cash aid. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said the affected workers will benefit from its amelioration programs, COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program or CAMP, and tulong panghanapbuhay sa ating disadvantaged or displaced or TUPAD. Under camp, beneficiaries will receive one-time cash assistance of 5,000 pesos, while TUPAD for informal sector workers is emergency employment for 10 days. Bello said around 30,000 to 40,000 workers will benefit from the said programs. There is no ongoing shortage of paracetamol and other medicines for flu-like symptoms in the country. This was clarified by the Department of Health amid reports on the alleged shortage of supplies. In a statement, the DOH says it consulted the major drugstore chains and local manufacturers regarding the matter. It says that while there is an observed increased demand for such products, there is no ongoing shortage in the Philippines. The DOH, however, appealed to consumers to refrain from hoarding, panic buying, or unnecessary purchases of such medications when not clinically warranted. The city government of Manila and the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene or the Quiapo Church are doing its part to contain the spread of COVID-19. Chris Mundo has more.
Manila is reviewing the facilities of its quarantine sites in preparation for a possible surge of COVID-19 cases due to the Omicron variant. The city has a 530 COVID-19 capacity and a buffer of about 200 beds in several dormitories. The Manila COVID-19 Field Hospital at the Quirino Grandstand grounds in Rizal Park currently has a 93% occupancy rate as it accommodates mild and asymptomatic patients, including returning overseas Filipinos. The city government also provides medicine for residents and non-residents. Meanwhile, Dumagoso also said that more medical frontliners in Manila have been reinfected with COVID-19. He did not give the exact number of medical frontliners or capital employees currently infected with COVID-19, but assured that the city can still manage the influx of possible infections. For its part, the Minor Basilica of the Black Nazarene, otherwise known as Quiapo Church, is closed for massive disinfection. Parochial Vicar Father Douglas Badong said the Basilica will not accept devotees from January 3 to 6 to give way to disinfection activities. Masses will continue to be aired online. Devotees may come back on January 7, 2 days before the Black Nazarene's feast. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Still ahead, PNP Chief General Jonaldo Carlos and his close-in security staff are not spared from contracting COVID-19. Meanwhile, another overseas Filipino is nabbed over breach in quarantine protocol. More stories when the PNA Newsroom returns.
The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work.
Both PNP Chief General Jonaldo Carlos and his close-in security staff tested positive for COVID-19. They are currently under isolation. Carlos said he experienced fever, chills, and body sweats on Sunday evening and lower back pain on Monday. He and his staff took a swab test on Sunday. The new cases bring the total number of active infections among police personnel to 164. As of Tuesday, 95.49% of PNP personnel have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19, while 3.85% are still awaiting their second dose. Only 0.66% remain unvaccinated. The country is ready for a possible Omicron variant wave, which is likely upon the Philippines as the COVID-19 infections continue to increase. Health Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega said the Philippines has been experiencing a steady increase in terms of Omicron cases, just like what happened across South Africa and Europe. However, he stressed that what is very important is that the country is prepared for the Omicron variant. While the Omicron variant causes mild symptoms, Vega emphasized its high transmissibility factor may bring a large volume of infected patients. He added the government is also preparing about 115 temporary treatment and monitoring facilities. On Monday, the DOH reported 11 imported and 3 local cases of Omicron variant. 9 of them are returning overseas Filipinos, while none of the cases presented severe symptoms or had resulted in fatality. The local government of Angeles City, Pampanga is implementing stricter protocol against unvaccinated individuals entering the city. More on this and other news from the provinces from Marita Muahe.
The city of Angeles, Pampanga has started to impose stricter measures against unvaccinated individuals amid the rising cases of COVID-19. Under the guidelines issued by the city government on Monday, non-vaccinated individuals from outside Pampanga may only be allowed entry to this city after presenting a negative antigen or RT-PCR test result administered and released within 48 hours. Non-vaccinated individuals may only be allowed in al fresco or outdoor seating areas, in restaurants, and not inside malls and similar establishments. They are likewise banned from attending religious and social gatherings unless they could present a negative antigen or RT-PCR test results. In Zamboanga City, Mayor Maria Isabel Climaco Salazar has appealed to all city government workers to submit themselves for vaccination. This as nearly 490,000 residents of this city have received their second dose of vaccine or are fully vaccinated since the start of the vaccination program in March 2021. They represent 70% of the target eligible population for vaccine of 694,696. Salazar said the city government is continuing its vaccination rollout for all unvaccinated as well as those partially vaccinated residents. In Davao City, Mayor Sara Duterte disclosed Monday the city government is continuously preparing for the possible surge of COVID-19 cases after the holiday season. In her weekly radio program, she said the surge is expected either on the 3rd or 4th week of this month. Duterte added that the COVID cluster clinic is also readying the temporary treatment and monitoring facilities in the event of a surge. To reduce the possibility, she reiterated to Davaoenos to continue adhering to minimum public health standards and get vaccinated. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Muahe.
The Department of Tourism reports another Filipino from overseas was caught having broken mandatory quarantine rules. The protocol violator who arrived in the country on December 22 reportedly skipped her isolation hotel in Makati and went instead to her condominium in BGC in Taguig. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo-Puyat on Monday said the Filipino was caught after she made a post on social media of them having a massage. In a separate interview, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año disclosed that the woman claimed she got an exemption from the Bureau of Quarantine. Earlier, a Filipina named Gwyneth Chua from the United States was caught breaking quarantine protocol to attend a party in Makati. She and several of her fellow party guests were later tested positive for COVID-19. The Berjaya Hotel, the hotel where Chua was supposed to have stayed for her initial quarantine, may face penalties. In our business news, the number of international travelers entering and leaving the country during the last day of 2021 and the first day of the new year almost doubled compared to last year. The Bureau of Immigration said New Year's Eve and New Year's Day saw over 10,000 arrivals, while there were nearly 6,000 during the same two-day period in 2020 to 2021. The number of departing passengers also reached almost 7,000. In a statement, Commissioner Jaime Morente said the trend shows a steady improvement in the number of travelers. Immigration Port Operations Division Chief Carlos Capulong meanwhile reported that airport operations were smooth during the holiday season. 99 new immigration officers were deployed to augment BI's airport manpower during the holidays. Baguio City ended its two-year streak of zero firecracker-related injuries after 2 cases were recorded this new year. The City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit reported 2 persons who were treated for injuries in the face and head on January 1. The patients, both female and aged 34 and 43, sustained the injuries caused by quitis. However, they were not the ones handling the firecracker that caused their injuries. Baguio City has been implementing a total ban on the sale of firecrackers since the year 2000, but the use of them is not prohibited. The city has been conducting a New Year countdown and an organized fireworks display at Burnham Park. In South Cotabato, a total of 22 fireworks-related injuries have been reported to the Integrated Provincial Health Office. The figure is 144% higher compared to the same period from last year's 15 injuries, despite repeated reminders by the province's health officials. 8 of the injuries were caused by quitis, followed by 5-star with 4, Flying Tiger and Piccolo with 2 each, and Boga, 3-star, Camara, Luces, Sandawo Pyrotechnics with 1 each. Meanwhile, no deaths due to firecracker injury or the incidence of stray bullets during New Year revelries were reported. Up next, on for progress as East Mincom reports their accomplishments to combat insurgency. And another setback for the new year looms for Olympian EJ Obiena. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom. The Eastern Mindanao Command, or East Mincom, capped off the year 2021 by neutralizing more than 2,000 combatants and supporters of the New People's Army, the armed wing of the Communist Party of the Philippines. Over 1,200 of them were former members who withdrew their support for the communist terrorist group. A total of 22 key personalities were meanwhile killed in combat, including George K. Oris Madlos, commander and spokesperson of the National Operations Command and also of the National Democratic Front in Mindanao. The East Mincom also discovered around 192 NPA hideouts and seized 690 firearms and 97 landmines. Lieutenant General Greg Almirol, commander of East Mincom, said their accomplishments were significant in helping the country move forward to quell the more than 5 decades of communist terrorism in the country. He reiterated his call on the remaining NPA forces to surrender and return to the government's fold through the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, or ECLIP. Pole vaulter EJ Obiena is set to face administrative charges in connection with the alleged misuse of fund during his training in Italy. The Philippine Athletics Track and Field Association, or PATAFA, has recommended the filing of administrative charges against him, as well as dropping the Olympian from the national team. The charges include an estafa case for the alleged misappropriated funds worth 3.6 million pesos for the coaching fee of Ukrainian coach Vitaly Petrov. A complaint will also be filed against Petrov before World Athletics for violating the Integrity Code of Conduct, while Obiena's advisor James Lafferty will be declared as persona non grata. In our news overseas, the woman known as the world's oldest living person celebrated her 119th birthday on Sunday, January 2nd. Kane Tanaka of Japan was recognized by the Guinness World Records as the world's oldest living person in 2019 when she was 116 years old. Tanaka was born on January 2, 1903 as the 7th of 9 siblings. She lived through the Meiji, Taisho, Showa, and Heisei eras of post-1867 modern Japanese history. She now lives at a care facility in Fukuoka, southwestern Japan. Tanaka is considered the oldest verified Japanese person ever and the third oldest verified person in the world. Before Tanaka, the world's oldest person was Chiyo Miyako, another Japanese woman who died in July 2018 at the age of 117. The all-time record for longest life is held by French woman Jeanne-Louise Calment, who died in 1997 at the age of 122. The presidential yacht BRP Ang Pangulo is now operating as a floating hospital serving patients from the Dinagat Islands, one of the provinces devastated by Typhoon Odette in December. Over 200 residents in the islands of Kapakyan and Sibanak were treated in a medical mission aboard the ship. The Philippine Navy says the isolated communities were also given food, clothing, hygiene kits, and activity kits for the children. In the last 3 days, residents of the province have so far been seen and served aboard the ship. The BRP Ang Pangulo is part of the 26-ship flotilla deployed by the Navy to help communities battered by Odette. The ship left Manila on December 19th, carrying relief goods and other essential items intended for the affected population in Mindanao. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Health Department says there is no truth to the alleged paracetamol shortage in the country. More government agencies are amenable to the no vax, no labas policy. Another overseas Filipino is nabbed over breach in quarantine protocol. And Olympic pole vaulter Ernest John EJ Obiena is set to face charges for alleged misuse of funds. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, Look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I'm Bench Bondok. Good evening.